Have you ever felt like something was holding you back from being the best version of yourself, but you couldn't quite put your finger on it? In this video, I'll show you how to unlock your best self by leaning into a powerful self-awareness technique that has literally transformed my life. And I'm confident that it can do the same for you. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am Bladine Bartholis, and I offer practical, clear strategies that you can use to uplevel your health, your body, and your life. Now let's dive in. So first, let's talk about what self-awareness is. Self-awareness is the understanding of your emotions, your thoughts, and your values, and how that impacts your overall behavior. It's an understanding of what makes you tick. It's an understanding of what brings you joy and life and what makes you come alive. But it's also the understanding of the things that you absolutely cannot stand. It's your triggers. It's all of those. It's the limitations as well as the strengths that you bring into any situation that you are a part of. When we are self-aware, we make better decisions for ourselves and for those around us. When we're self-aware, we communicate better because we communicate in a way that speaks to who we truly are. We also have a better time reducing the amount of stress that we have in our lives, and we can manage the emotions that life will tend to bring up here and there as we go through life. When we lack self-awareness, all of that becomes difficult. It becomes more difficult to make the types of decisions that support us and supports those around us. It's harder for us to communicate with our truth in mind, and it becomes harder for us to communicate with other people in general. Managing our emotions becomes a lot more difficult because sometimes we can't even name the emotion that we're feeling, let alone know what to do to actually support the needs that we have in that moment. All of this makes it really difficult to have healthy relationships. In addition, when you have increased self-awareness, it impacts your performance. It impacts the level of success that you have, and it leaves you feeling more fulfilled and more connected as an individual. And so there are many reasons that we can see where self-awareness is absolutely something that we need to have. Now, one thing that I want to bring up is oftentimes, and maybe you have said this yourself, and maybe I've said a version of this, to be honest, is I am the most self-aware person that you'll ever meet. I don't even know why I'm watching this video. I have so much self-awareness, I probably don't need any more strategies, right? So if you're somebody who's always reflective and always thinking about ways to up-level who you are as an individual, you're probably right. You probably do have a high degree of self-awareness. But I ran across a study, all right? I ran across a study, and just hear me out here. There was a study done by the Urich Group, and they showed that although 95% of people said that they were self-aware, based on the tests that they gave, only 10 to 15% of people actually were. What? 95% of people said that they were self-aware, but only 10 to 15% actually were. So now as somebody, this is baffling. Now as somebody who has studied and trained on self-awareness and practiced quite a bit of it myself, I had to go dissecting. I had to try to figure this whole thing out. What is it that makes it challenging for us to lean into the activities that would allow us to be more self-aware? What is it that causes us to shy away from or limit ourselves or be hesitant to ask for honest feedback, to honestly reflect and look at ourselves in the moment, to look at our behaviors and identify ways in which maybe we have missed the mark in a moment? What makes it so difficult for us to do that? And when I started really thinking through that, what really landed for me is that we attach judgment to what we become aware of. I'm going to say that again. We attach judgment to what we become aware of. And as a result of that judgment, we start to become defensive about the thing that we have been told about ourselves, or what we see about ourselves in the moment. And so when we attach judgment to what we become aware of, it takes us down this negative narrative where we start to allow the thing to define who we are as an individual, instead of it just being an objective opportunity for us to look at ourselves and possibly up-level, possibly grow, possibly make a decision that next time we might do something different. But instead, we have begun going down this rabbit hole of breaking ourselves up, breaking ourselves apart in a way that truly redefines who we are in a negative manner. And that is the challenge that we face sometimes with self-awareness, is that we apply judgment when we get the feedback. We apply judgment when someone says something, instead of us just taking it at face value, looking at it with wonder and curiosity, and potentially taking action that could allow us to grow. I'm going to give you an example. I'm a parent, a single parent, and I have a wonderful son who is 19 years old, and I will tell you, he is a wonderful son. And I'm not just saying that because he's my son. He's pretty awesome, okay? But what I will tell you is we had a situation where, I remember that we had a conversation one time, and I felt myself in the conversation getting a little, frustrated, heated within. Thought I was doing a really good job at keeping it inside, but clearly I was not, because he called me out on it and he said, "What are you getting so frustrated about?" Now, I will tell you, when I am getting frustrated in a conversation, the last thing I need is for the person that I'm getting frustrated with to call me out on my frustration, because that does not help me to get any less frustrated. But he called me out, right? And in that moment, it did snap me out of that little train wreck that I was on, right? And what it allowed me to do is to take a step back and to see myself in that moment being frustrated and reacting in the way that I was. And immediately, as I started to see myself that way, my mind started going into this negative narrative, lots of judgment, defining who I am. And some of the stuff that I started hearing was, how could you let yourself react like that? You're the mother, you're the parent, you talk about self-awareness all the time. You're even talking about it on you. I mean, I could say you're going to talk about it on YouTube. Like, how on earth could you even be an example, a model of this thing, if you're going to unravel in a conversation with your son? None of that actually supported me in that moment to pivot and become better about what I'm choosing to do in that moment. The only thing that it does is apply a level of shame, a level of guilt, and none of those emotions support growth in any way. And I will also say that when you start to sit with shame and when you start to sit with guilt, there's a level of diminishing that starts to happen with who you are as an individual. And if there is ever a moment when we can choose to either feel diminished or uplifted, we will always pick the uplifting. So if self-awareness will lead to us feeling diminished, we will avoid it. And so that was really a powerful lesson for me, because if I choose to just see that moment as it is, you really reacted in a pretty significant way in that conversation. What might have been going on for you, and how could you react differently next time? Just take it at face value and use it as an opportunity to adjust either in the moment or adjust afterwards, instead of allowing it to bring so much meaning to who I am as a mother, as a person, as an individual, because none of that is true. So I just want to encourage you to think about it that way. The other piece that I'll add, just a quick analogy. If you walk into a dark room, the first thing that most of us do is that we go and we try to find the light switch, because we want to turn on the light to remedy the situation of us not being able to see. We don't go into the dark room and start to curse the darkness. We don't go in and start to judge the darkness and get mad at the darkness for being dark. We're so mad at you. Like, why are you dark? You know I can't see if it's dark. Why would you be dark? We're not doing any of that. Now, it sounds funny, But that's what we do with ourselves. We simply walk into that dark room and look for the light switch to turn on the light so that we don't have an issue with the darkness. And that is how we need to approach ourselves when it comes to self-awareness. You see something about yourself, or someone tells you something, or someone tells you that they've experienced you in a way, in a certain incident. You take it, bring some light to it, and if you need to adjust, adjust. There's no reason for us to attach all of this negative narration that actually eats away at who we are, diminishes who we are as individuals, instead of builds us up, which is what self-awareness should actually do. And so what I'd like to do is, next time you find yourself in this situation, apply wonder and curiosity as opposed to judgment. And that wonder and curiosity will lead you to positive action. I'm going to leave you with one quote by Jack Kornfield. And he said, "If your compassion does not include yourself, it is incomplete." And with that, I'll say that oftentimes we have so much love, joy, kindness, and compassion for everyone else. But when it comes time for us to turn that compassion on ourselves, we find that we don't have enough to give. And what I'd like to say is, as we become clear on who we are, and as life begins to show us signs as opportunities where we can grow, apply that same level of compassion that you would give the person you care about the most. Apply that to yourself and watch how much you grow when you become aware of the opportunities that life gives you to up-level and shift who you are. And so much love to you. I want to encourage you, if you like this, please like it, share it, subscribe if you haven't subscribed. I'm going to continue to bring you practical strategies that can support who you are on your journey to love and life and health, all of those good things. And until next time, to our collective transformation, we will talk soon again. Take care.